Duel is a 1971 action thriller that was directed by Steven Spielberg. In 1971, the legendary director was just 20-something, directing TV shows and looking to break out of that into his first movie gig. He eventually found that in this TV movie called Duel that was about an anonymous truck driver stalking a hapless businessman driving around the lonely canyon roads of California. The movie, which is filled with thrills and road rage, was the precursor to Jaws and effectively launched Spielberg's career. The movie was produced by Universal Television, and it originally aired as part of an ABC Movie of the Week series on November 13, 1971. It later received international theatrical release in an extended version featuring scenes that had to be shot after the original film had been broadcast. It received generally positive reviews from the critics, with Spielberg's direction being singled out for the praise that was given. It's since been recognized as an influential cult classic and one of the greatest made-for-television films ever made. This show is pretty intense and was based on a real-life incident. Author and screenwriter Richard Matheson based his original short story, which first appeared in the April 1971 issue of Playboy, on an actual road rage incident. He had been playing a round of golf on November 22, 1963. That was the same day that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. On his car ride home, in a daze after receiving the terrible news, he was ruthlessly tailgated by a truck driver. He initially pitched the idea to TV producers, but after it was rejected numerous times, he decided to put his real-life incident into prose form. In order to gather details for the story, he set out from his home in Ventura, California, with a voice recorder in his hand and simply described what he saw as he was driving. Those descriptions of the desolate landscape ended up in his short story. Steven Spielberg got his start in directing by directing television at the age of 21. He helmed a few episodes of shows like Night Gallery and Marcus Welby, MD. But he was desperately searching for a property that he could turn into a feature film. It was his secretary, Nona Tyson, who found this story in Playboy and sent it to him to potentially adapt it into a movie. Spielberg started laughing at the fact that she was giving him a Playboy to read. But she said, "Don't look at the girls, read the short story in it. It's right up your alley." He felt that she really had an intuition about himself and that she really understood his taste and his ambition, his fear and anxiety about wanting to do everything. She completely understood the guy and knew exactly what he was looking for in a film. He felt that the only one that knew him better was his mother. She helped track down whether the movie rights to the story had been optioned, and eventually she discovered that a teleplay was in development at ABC and Universal, with producer George Eckstein in charge. Spielberg took a meeting with Eckstein and brought a rough cut of his legendary 73-minute series premiere episode of Columbo, entitled Murder by the Book. Eckstein was very impressed, and he gave Spielberg the job to direct this new project. For the lowly protagonist in the movie, David Mann, Spielberg handpicked character actor Dennis Weaver because he loved his performance as the jittery, feeble hotel night manager in Orson Welles' 1958 film, The Touch of Evil. It's said that Weaver drove almost 2,000 miles while shooting his scenes, and he did many of the stunts himself, including the dangerous phone booth scene at the Snake-A-Rama gas station, and he did it in a single take. Weaver said that he enjoyed working with the first-time director. He said he gave him the benefit of the doubt and that he just needed not to judge him because of his age. There was actually a casting call for the truck that's featured in the film. Matheson's script stated that the villainous, unnamed truck driver would never be seen besides the insert shots of his arms and his boots. Since the truck itself is the movie's main antagonist, Spielberg chose to cast it like he would any other actor, an in-person audition. He auditioned 7 different styles of semi-trucks on the Universal backlot, finally settling on a 1955 Peterbilt 281 because he felt that the split windshield, rounded headlights, and elongated hood represented the menacing features of the truck's face. For Mann's car, he chose the relatively small red Plymouth Valiant to stand out in size and color from this enormous truck and the earthy tones of the California landscape. The first-time director was given $400,000 and 10 days to shoot the movie, but the schedule ballooned into a full 13 days to shoot it after they ended up falling behind. To save time in shooting the high-speed chases on location in California's Soledad Canyon, Spielberg strategically set up multiple cameras along a single stretch of road to capture the shots needed for multiple scenes in one take. He had the camera turned 180 degrees and the cars driven in the opposite direction to get multiple shots for additional scenes. To capture the truck and car at seemingly high speeds, Spielberg shot each at really low angles. He borrowed a specially made camera that was used in the 1968 Steve McQueen film, Bullet, which would allow the camera to be only 6 inches off the ground. Spielberg also enlisted 50-year-old veteran stunt driver Kerry Lofton as his stunt coordinator. He also played the driver of the truck. He's legendary for his car chase sequences in films such as Vanishing Point, Bullet, and The French Connection. The director had only one take to pull off the climactic cliff crash because the initial shoot only had a single truck at their disposal. The stunt director rigged the truck with a dead clutch so that the 18-wheeler could drive without anybody behind the wheel. They used 7 cameras to catch multiple angles in order to be able, in the editing process, to stretch out this scene. As the truck rams the car over the cliff and falls off, there is a low roar sound effect that the filmmaker included to emphasize the death of the truck. He wanted that truck to seem almost Godzilla-like, and he took this sound effect from the 1954 Universal film Creature from the Black Lagoon, and he would go on to reuse that effect for the death of the great white shark in Jaws. Initially in the movie, before David starts his drive home, he's given a tongue lashing by his wife and more or less stripped of his manhood by being manhandled by this lady. That theme continues throughout the film. He's being manhandled throughout the movie by this truck. No matter what he tries to get an advantage on this semi, he fails. There are many motifs in the movie that are related to manhood, most of them giving David a real meek persona. His surname is Mann. He drives a Plymouth Valiant. His first name also evokes the story of David and Goliath, but he's beat down early by his wife before this stuff ever starts. The whole premise is essentially the truck driver goading David into some kind of macho response following an encounter where he failed to defend his wife's honor. If you haven't seen Spielberg's directorial debut in a while, take a look back at it. It's an intense movie that leaves you on the edge of your seat most of the time. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.